What is up, guys? Maxmov here. Welcome back to episode 5 of La Costa in City Skylines. This is, of course, my Southern Californian-inspired build based off of the San Diego and general area of San Diego County, Oceanside, Carlsbad, places like that. But if you're new here, I hope you enjoy the series. Go ahead and feel free to rewatch the earlier ones so you kind of catch up with the progress. It's been slow, but I'm pretty happy with it. So right here, I'm doing a little bit to just work on the industrial area, finish it up slightly. I still had problems with these warehouses, but pretty soon we're going to get started on the freeway project, which I'm really excited about. It's a feature of California that is really amazing. So looking right here, you can see this is a freeway that passes through Oceanside, and you can see that the freeway just kind of tears through the middle of everything, and right there you can see it's actually set into the ground. So that's one thing we're going to be focusing on really quickly in the city, and making sure that it's in the ground. So switching back into game, using Move It to take these roads that I've already placed down, and just going to lower them. I'm trying to spawn a bridge. For some reason, you know, I decided to use a footpath because I'm intelligent. Also, I noticed we had a fire problem, so also there's a random industrial building in there. Just hopping around doing a little bit, but I wanted to get a fire station going because, you know, we needed to take care of that. That's just temporary. Putting that there because the cemetery is on fire, and we do not need that the slightest, so it does fix itself later. But back onto the freeway, as I said, deleting the roads there and then filling in the rest of the freeway. These are super cool highways. I really do like them. I think they look pretty good. And again, just using Move It to drop them down into the ground. I really like this look. It's something that I should have focused on from the beginning of the series, but then again, you know, the map didn't have it initially, so I had to work on it at some point. It was a bit finicky, because the way City Skylines works is with Move It, the closer you are, or the more dense of an area you are, when you use Move It, you actually have to update the position of all the props as it moves. So that's why when we get closer to these built-up areas or the heavily customized areas, it takes forever to move changes. That's also why when we use Move It, sometimes you can see cars flickering and dancing around in parking spaces. That's just a feature or something you have to deal with as you work. So putting a bridge in, obviously we needed to force the bridge. And we also needed to drop the roads down a lot more so that they fit there, which is something that honestly looked pretty good once we got it. Again, you can see the pillar, we had to move that so it looks good, but taking away the trees that are right on the edge, and eventually I do want to swap out most of these trees for palm trees because obviously this is SoCal, and you don't see too many of those trees around there. Most of the time they are palm trees and stuff like that. Also, for some reason, my capture card freaked out there, so apologies for that. But using some terrain tools just to flatten things out, and when I dropped the... wow, another capture card freak out. I don't know. Sometimes it freaks out, or again. So, the freeway overpass is something that we needed to change, and I initially did use a stock preset, which I should probably custom build at some point. I used just one of the three ways and then put in an extension at the end, and then did some really weird stuff. But in the future, I probably should delete all of it, start from scratch, and do a cloverleaf style. I also noticed that there were some connections that we didn't have, some that we needed, so that people could get where they wanted to go. And working with the terrain is interesting for sure. Just trying to make sure everything looks nice. And I'm not going to do the entire freeway because that would take literally ages. But when I work on an area, I'll just drop the freeway down as I go. Also, as I said, just trying to work on those on-ramps and off-ramps so that they look a little bit better. Because, you know, overall they have to drop down higher now, and you want it to look really nice and smooth. So this is something that, you know, playing around with Move It, it gets a bit finicky, but overall, you know, you can get pretty nice effect once you work on it. It does get a little jank. So, if you were confused by the title and the video thumbnail, today we are going to be working on these freeways for a little bit longer, and then after that, we're actually going to be working on a brand new subdivision and a railroad station. Two things I'm very excited about. The railroad station is heavily inspired by the one in downtown Carlsbad. Actually a pretty cool place. But the neighborhood is just Californian in general. So right now we're forcing in a bridge there, and then we're going to put a pillar in, just so it looks like it should be, like it's proper. This is going straight off of the other end that we worked on in the last episode, that start of the commercial area. The roads are planned. We do need to put some buildings down there, but I think it might be an office park or something like that, but low level. We don't need anything super high. And then putting some dirt in there so it looks more natural. I do want to get some either K-barriers or bushes. You'll see me mess around with bushes in a little bit, because that's something I think we really need. Also, this node-based retaining wall, it's the first that came out, and then there's actually others that were added with different textures and stuff. Holy cow, this thing is amazing! It works so much better for walls than props do, and I wanted something that blocks people from being able to just walk, like, onto the freeway, obviously. So just slapping that wall in there. As I said earlier, I was trying to figure out what to do bush-wise, because a lot of Californian freeways, they will have a center divider with, like, cave barriers on both sides, and then some sort of plant life in the middle, but I need something that looks good. I have a feeling I might have to do this by hand. Also, I said in the last video that I needed to get the like, random rotation thing. I still haven't done that, and I really need to do that, because that would really help break up the uniformity of that, and eventually we will get to that. It's just not in the concern for right now. Actually, now that I think about it, I could use that node-based retaining wall as the basis. That's something to remember. But yeah, I was just trying to play around and see if I could come up with a bush system that works. I didn't find it. But it's time for some residential road planning, and this is something I really like. We'll get to some Google Earth video in a little bit coming up here, but I really like the look of this area, and again, I say it every time in all of these episodes, the places that I'm really digging are the places that I spend the most time on and do the most customization. So it's something I just need to do. But as you can see here, kind of what I'm going for with this vibe, just a fairly packed together neighborhood that is just sitting right there on the freeway. You can see these sprawling neighborhoods with a freeway that cuts right through. I do want to continue it maybe for a whole nother block and do another bridge freeway. But I think it's really cool, honestly. And putting in these roads here, I wanted something that was slightly grid-based, but not super heavy grid. So, you know, just putting in an angle like that looks good, and having them be rectangular and not completely square also helped with the look. Using Prop It Up, which is a lifesaver. Seriously, now that I'm learning more and more of these mods, oh my god, it's amazing using all of these. There were some super cool, like, mid-century modern style buildings that were released onto the workshop, and they have super cool backyard, super cool props. You can see one with a little pool and a little, like, garage. I love it. I love it. By the way, if you do want to check out any of the mods and assets I use, there are two different Steam collections linked down below. One is for the mods and one is for the assets of the La Costa series. Check them out. I think it's pretty cool. But using a mixture of Rico and Find It, we are tossing in all of these buildings to fill up spaces. Seriously, this looks so good. I'm legitimately loving this. Like, I haven't even finished it, at least in the replay. But going through and watching this, I love it. This is exactly the type of stuff I want to do. I also found a ton of these cool fences, so we're going to be utilizing that a lot to add some privacy to the neighborhood and to the residents from the neighbors, using prop line tool to add in these fences and just kind of adjusting the houses, keeping neighbors separate and all of that. It's also really cool to help break up the grid by using some sort of funky shaped fences on those corners, like you saw before. And it's really fun playing with the natural division of some of these yards, and also just playing around with the area of how these buildings are laid out, adding a little extra what are they called, driveways. I brain farts sometimes, you know. Also switching in some houses. I think that one looks pretty cool. That's actually a vanilla building, I believe. Some vanilla buildings look really good. And if you noticed, I am using two different fences for the exterior. I'm doing more of a classic one, and the interior is a bit fancier. I was about to say a bit fancier. I have fences on the brain. But seriously, this is super cool. I really do love this new neighborhood, and I do want to give it a district, so I will really appreciate your name suggestions. So drop a comment down below if you have name ideas for what we should call this neighborhood. Also, we're moving in a event spawner because we are building a little neighborhood park right here. This is something that personally I grew up with in SoCal, and I think it's super cool. At least in the neighborhood that I grew up in, there were a lot of little parks tucked in between houses, basically like any extra space they put a park in, and it was accessible through the neighborhood. You just see a little tiny fence break and you walk in there and it reveals a park. So I wanted to do that. You'll see it in the cinematics at the end. I seriously love it, and putting little parks in like that just are super cool. I really like it. I think it adds detail, because the more time I spend in City Skylines, I start to, you know, realize some rules and some tricks to make cities look more realistic. And a lot of times it's the non-essential things that add the most realism. I mean, you can have the coolest looking industrial area and the coolest looking office block, but adding a little lunch plaza or a park like this really does give it life, and it gives it personality. So I'm super excited about that. I didn't mean to get all meta and theoretical about it, but whatever. Expanding the roads here, continuing this grid on, and because we had an awkward shape there, I thought it would be cool to put in a little bit of a commercial area. So we put in a gas station, an SO gas station, and what I believe is a vanilla building. I think it's called Big Bite, is set on the roof there. A little hamburger shop right next to the gas station. And we are using everyone's favorite mods, the road parking lots. They're just so cool. Like, seriously. So we're putting in a parking lot here for the Big Bite and the gas station, as well as neighborhood parking. At least as far as I've experienced, it's not uncommon for neighborhoods to have parking lots. If you're having an event, your guests can park there instead of clogging up streets or driveways, stuff like that. So putting in some handicap spots, because every parking lot has handicap accessible spots, and putting in all of the parking spaces. I didn't really like how dark this asphalt is at first. Someone actually released a they call it like a destroyed version, which looks a lot more realistic because it's more of a dirt or an older asphalt look. It's less black. It's more like stone gray or dirty gray, and it has some cracks and chips and looks a lot more realistic. But for realism's sake, we can say that, you know, maybe this is a new parking lot, or it's just been retarred, and that sounded bad. I meant, you know, freshly tarred. Don't hate me. But maybe, you know, they just put a new layer of tar or a new coating, and then it would have that dark black look. Anyway, doing some final adjustments there, and then trying to come up with a couple other buildings to put in. I found this King Leno building. It's this really old looking grocery store. And I think it's cool because Carlsbad especially, it's really cool because you could be driving through and see all these new buildings, and then out of nowhere is this old building that is clung on to life, and it's been around since the early 1900s or something like that. And I personally think that that is just so cool to see a building like that, but I had to move it around, give it a little better spot, just pulling the buildings around to see what looks best. I think that is super cool. It's a little, you know, corner store gas station. You got a burger stand or a burger shop nearby, and then a couple other stores and a grocery store. So everything you need for a neighborhood right there. And to save me some time, I was basically just copy and pasting some of the buildings. Also, for some reason, I just wanted to follow some cars around and have some fun. Obviously, people needed their amenities, so putting water in there as well as dragging the power lines in. Now, the fun thing about the water is I tried to make it really realistic, which you don't need to do in City Skylines, but by putting the pipes under the roadway, it's clean, keeps it to a grid, and it's pretty efficient. Also, another thing, a detail you don't need in City Skylines in terms of game functionality, but putting in those power lines along the streets. If you go through neighborhoods or anywhere, at least in America, 99% of the time you are going to see power lines. So I just wanted that detail. Now jumping over to the other side of the freeway, I'm going to work on a little bit more utility. This is going to be a local fire station. I guess it would be La Costa Fire Department. Haven't really thought of that. But putting in a fence with a back lot, putting in some tanks, you know, maybe to store extra foam or extra water. Putting in some battalion chief vehicles and a international, and then just for fun, putting some fire trucks out there. Had to spawn in the crates because they're random, because I wanted a red one for, you know, it's the color of the fire department, just to add some detail there. But police station now because, you know, the police need to have, like, they need to be around. And because I am a total police nut, as well as, you know, I'm going to be an officer, the police detail is something that I put a little more effort into. So I wanted to build a really nice looking backlot for this police station, and so once I got past all of the weirdness with the texturing, you know, trying to use those parking lots, and I still was relatively new to using them at this point, but fencing it off because you need to restrict access to stuff like this, putting in that sliding gate, which looks pretty cool actually, and now I'm just going to put some texture. They're non-functioning because I don't want regular cars to spawn here. I'm putting in some parking spaces for all of the fleet vehicles. So a couple rows there and a row there. So you can see just having to flip them around. And this video actually contains 2 different recording sessions. And at this current one, I didn't have any police cars in. I don't know why I didn't. I just didn't have any props, police car props. But the second recording in this video, I added them in, and we go and put some in later. Right now, just putting in some service vans, so it, you know, it looks good at this point. But as I said, I do go back and add actual police cars. But now, taking the sand away from the power lines, just to give it a little bit more detail. Really loving the look of this area, as I said. And finding out here what to copy and paste. Sometimes there were some issues, some glitches, some funkiness, so we had to adjust fences, put fences in, stuff like that. But I don't mind it, and I really do love this fence. I forget exactly what it's called. You can see, you know, when I select it. I think it's super cool. And I will say I do have a problem with the amount of mods I have. I love them so much that I find something like, ooh, this is cool, let me throw it in there. And then I am like 2,000 assets deep in my library, and it becomes an issue. My computer runs so poorly with this game It is so intensive when you're doing all of this kind of detail work. But that is the benefit of the time-lapse. You don't have to sit there and watch. You don't have to watch really bad frame rate. It speeds up and looks kind of normal. So had I not said anything, you wouldn't even known. But putting in fences there, as I said, just to detail this more and add in those divisions between the houses, because I don't really know a whole lot of neighborhoods that are open next door. Just a little detail, you know. Most of the time, people are they want their homes to be private, you know. Taking some sand away where it shouldn't really be. Again, using the Springwood LUT and Springwood map theme by Ronix69. Really, really fantastic. And you guessed it, if you did guess it. We're gonna be expanding more of the subdivision here. So putting in another park there. As I said, they're pretty common from what I'm used to. If they are good, if they're not, then I guess it's just me. But let me know if you guys actually this will be pretty fun. Let me know down in the comments what kind of unique things or unique features you remember either from your childhood or that you notice now about your cities, and maybe I'll even incorporate them if I like the idea. Let me know, you know, what are some fun, unique things of your neighborhoods that you like. For me, definitely, just because I have a lot of childhood memories, the parks like that, I really love, and I can't wait to build an actual neighborhood right on the beach. That's a lot of my friends growing up. They lived and I did also, which I could have made this neighborhood closer to the beach. I don't know why I didn't, but a lot like me and my friends growing up, we all lived really close to the beach, like within walking distance. And so for me, that's one of the unique features I like, is just that coastal vibe and that coastal attitude. So that is something we will try to embody soon. I really do wish we had some more California-based architecture in the workshop, whether it be like surf-related buildings. Actually, having a surf shop would be super cool. I know there's an older one, and I used it before. I have a feeling I'm gonna use that building a lot, actually, just because I really do like it. But, you know, if we had also Spanish architecture is huge in California for obvious reasons, and there's not a whole lot of that on the workshop. So that's another thing that I really wish we had more of. If you're an asset creator, please, I will 100% give you a shout out. I will promote the hell out of you if you can make some really good looking Spanish architecture and buildings. I'll love you forever. Yeah, that will be such a lifesaver. Editing this little copy and paste that I did, taking out that building there. But seriously, if you just swap out a couple buildings or change some details, you can copy and paste the whole thing and it looks so good. You can barely tell that it's copy and pasted. But again, working on the power lines to give that detail. When I was using the Anarchy, I was having issues with the poles not placing, which is weird. I ended up fixing it, but you know, if you're watching this and you caught up before I did, by far you have the opportunity to call me an idiot. Also, running low on power, so you know, I kind of do these a lot. I just throw in more wind farms here and there. Eventually it would be cool to do a big surface mine and a large power plant, or nuclear power plants up north of San Diego, I believe. Yeah, up north of, sometimes I have to remember, because I don't currently live there. I only spend about half the year there. So I know up north of San Diego there's a super cool nuclear power plant off by the coast. It's between the freeway and the coast, which is super cool actually. It'd be cool to do something like that. If you have suggestions for this city, please let me know, because I really do need to fill up this map. Also, changing over the games now, I messed around with graphics, I was going to say a little bit, but quite heavily. I messed with graphics. I tried out Relight for this recording session. Not a big fan of it. I couldn't get something to work super well, so for the time being, it's gonna be like this, but I promise next video it'll be back to normal. But yeah, it is weird. I also used a theme mixer, so we're gonna get some slightly different textures, but for the most part, it's still gonna be mostly the Springwood, what are they called? The Springwood textures. Why did I just had an absolute brain fart? I swear to God. Map theme. Dear Lord, I'm an idiot sometimes. Anyway, what's going on screen right now is we're working on the train extensions because this is the part of the video where we work on the train station. As before, pretty soon we're going to get into the inspiration. I'm going to show you some Google Earth, but we got to make a bridge for that road that goes around, and we have to make the bridge over the freeway itself. Also, the more I build out the city, I really enjoy all of these road connections, but we're going to jump into the Google Earth here. So as you can see, down on the left side, you can see the train track. Here's more of a zoomed in view. You can see, just like the freeways, it cuts right through the area. There's a shopping center to the right, parking lot for the train station right there on the left. Here's a more zoomed in view. You can see how it really just cuts through there, and it's a tiny little thing, honestly. That's something I wanted to do here. Not a huge metropolitan train station, but a very casual, small, residential train station. At least in Carlsbad, it goes straight through the downtown. So while Google Earth was up, I was continuing to work, and I placed down this train station. Also, you can see those destroyed or the cracked parking lot roads. Those look super good. And because I couldn't take away the parking lot in that asset, I decided to roll with it and make it my own, putting some ploppable asphalt down so that it has some more detail. And then just putting in some cracks, some patches, some stuff like that, to break up the monotony of it. Putting in some patched cracks and stuff like that. And then painting the rest of it in. And this is something I really liked because I need to break up textures more, and using these tile decals I think looks super cool. In the future, I might honestly go back and put some planters in or something like that, because I think in breaking up the concrete texture, I added too much of the tile texture, so I need something to break it up in the middle. Maybe even just a long planter down the center. I don't know. We can figure out something. But there honestly weren't a lot of smaller train stations, and so this is something that is still pretty big. But I think it serves the purpose pretty well. And then putting some curbs in there, of course, to finish it off. But it's a lot better than just the blank concrete. So right now we're gonna add the parking lot. It actually is a little bigger than the Carlsbad one, because this is the only train station in right now, so I wanted to bring in people, but I think it's okay being a little bigger than usual. And then doing the road connection. So the idea here is that there's the parking lane right there, and then there's going to be, or the parking lot, and then that road right against the tile, that's going to be the drop-off lane. So if you're just dropping someone off, or dropping off or picking up, basically you can just drive through there, and then drop your person off or pick them up. And then of course the parking lot is where you wait or you park your car while you are on your trip doing wherever. And this is connected to the train lines, so hopefully we'll start seeing some trains. I don't know if I need to do anything special to get the trains to run through there. Please let me know. I mean, obviously the train station has power, it's got water, so like let me know if there's anything in particular I need to do, because I didn't see any trains during recording, but eventually we will have some Amtrak through there. Also, the Surfliner I'm super excited to have, and I do want to work on a harbor pretty soon, a small harbor, similar to the Oceanside Harbor, which has the Surfliner train ride above it. and I just can't wait to do that. I think that'll look super cool. It's also really fun for me playing this game to base it off of, you know, a lot of elements of my childhood and elements of some of the real life, you know, stuff that I've lived and currently live, but also to have my own creative freedom. I think it's super fun, and that's probably what makes this game so appealing to me. It's so fun, you know? It's so fun. For some reason, also, I didn't have any crosswalk decals, so made my own with brick there. We'll say those are crosswalks. I don't care. But working on the handicap spots, because this is something that's important. Obviously, you know, if you are traveling with, or you are a handicapped person, you don't want to have to walk all the way across that parking lot. You want to make sure that you have a space reserved for you as a traveler. And so tried to put those in as much as I could. And it does add a little detail to the parking lots because you get the handicap symbol and stuff like that. I tried to see if there was some curb or concrete piece that would fit between the two, sort of like a raised walkway, but I didn't find anything, so I figured it was okay. And then to try to figure out what I was going to do here, I wanted to make a little service lot, but it didn't really end up working out, so you're going to watch me fumble around with the parking lot for a little while. As I said, I'm still kind of new to it, so, oh geez, excuse me, a yawn. This is a much longer video than I usually make. It's like almost 40 minutes long, so it's episode 5, you guys get a long episode, you get a long special. I don't know. I just played a lot, so we threw it in. I'm putting arrows in there for the drop off and pickup, so people understand, you know, pull through. And oh my god, speaking of pulling through in drop off lanes, that is one of the biggest annoyances I have, especially like taking my brother to his school. They have a drop off lane, and they straight up have signs and arrows on the ground that say pull up as far as possible, because the entrance to the school is about halfway in, or about halfway through the drop off and pickup, and people love to just stop right at that door. And it ends up creating a massive traffic jam, as you'd expect, because it backs up and you're basically cutting off half of the usable space. So it's a pet peeve. I don't even know why I shared that. It has nothing to do with what I'm doing right here, aside from the fact that there is a drop-off and pickup. But whatever. Also, despite the fact that there is a police station across the freeway, probably like less than a mile, I'm still adding my own police lot, because in Carlsbad there are a couple parking spaces for police, but since this is a slightly larger train station, I figured I'd add a little mini parking lot, so maybe it's like the Metro division or whatever. And as you can see, I finally have police vehicles. These are LAPD based, made by Ninja Noob Slayer, I believe, is who makes these. So they're LAPD, CHP, and I could have sworn that I had Alameda County in there, but I don't know. That's another thing. If someone would want to make like custom La Costa Police Department and La Costa Fire, that would be so cool. I mean, I know like $2.20 he has Springwood stuff made custom for him. I just think that would be super cool. But also adding in all of these vehicles, and this is a mix of CHP and LAPD. If you look close enough, you can see the difference. But I think it just adds so much depth to that parking lot. Anyway, adding in taxi stands. For some reason, I didn't, or it says I don't have them unlocked. Once we make the new industrial, so I will say I have plans for a industrial / office industrial area. I do want to make a very large import-export area. I don't know if it'll be the same or not, but eventually I want some sort of industrial office area, and that's where we'll put in a bus depot and a taxi depot, so we can actually get those in game, because I don't know if we need the stands for it. But right now, I put those in as a filler. As I said, I don't know if they'll do anything. The game told me that they were locked, yet I was still able to click on them and place them. But I figured I'd put them in while I'm still working on it, and then if it doesn't work, we can fix that later. But putting in all of this concrete and that taxi stand, I do have one that'll go on the other side. So, you know, one for if you're taking a taxi ride and you get dropped off, and one for taxis to maybe wait around and pick you up. Also, these are the same palms that I used in the apartment complex in an earlier episode, but I seriously love the way that they look, so that's another one of those things that I'm probably going to overuse and will need to tone down. But whatever. I just love the look of them. And they have such unique shapes that, you know, they really break things up pretty well. And so I just wanted to add a little personality to this area. So trying to put those plants in there as a little break away from the concrete. I think it looks good. And then putting those squares in, which seriously, had I not installed ploppable, I don't even know what the new name of it is, but like the more ploppables by Ronix, the asphalt, the concrete, stuff like that, it's such a lifesaver because while the surface painter does cover a lot of ground, it's not the most exact shape. But anyway, we're getting towards the end of the episode, so if you did enjoy, please be sure to leave a like on the video. Help shows your support, and it does bring new people to the channel. Just adding in some decals there, railroad crossing stuff. But of course, if you are new to the channel, please be sure to subscribe so you never miss out on any more of my content. I have some big plans for this save as well as other stuff, so please feel free to subscribe and join the family. Right now, I am just looking around the map to try to see if there's any residential trains or any passenger trains, but for some reason I only found cargo. I'm just gonna follow them around. Why not? It's fun. But pretty soon here, we're going to turn the music up, I'm gonna stop talking, and we're going to enjoy some cinematics of the stuff I just built. So anyway, my name's Maxmov. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys in episode 6 of La Costa. See you guys later.
Always got the vibe.